All right, so we're going to continue with the JavaScript. Today is the last day. We're going to go through that last JavaScript section, and I'm hoping to get through everything. I may not get through everything, but we'll see. And as always, definitely ask questions if you have them. Just bringing it up on my side. Okay, I'll start sharing my screen. As always, I'm gonna start with a fresh folder. Open up the terminal, and I'll just do it from here. CD to the desktop. I'm going to make a directory. I'll just call that JS2 since I called the first one JS1. I mean just JS. CD into that. Create the index HTML file and the main.js. Yeah. Then open it up in VS Code. Max this out. Terminate that. And we can see the folder here at the bottom. I just did an update on my computer, so it's probably taking some time. I'm just going to drag it over since it's taking forever. Okay, cool. And as always, we go to the HTML file, create the structure, and then after, I'm waiting for the autocomplete. Okay, here we go. Create the structure, script tag, source attribute, main.js. I'm gonna call it app.js actually, just because I like that name better. App.js, cool. So, let's see where we left off. JavaScript tools, did a few of these things. Increment, fix, number to string, round up, randomize. I think we're here at randomize. So we're randomized. So there's a way in JavaScript for us to like create a random number. And the way we create a random number is by using the math object. Now, there's a few things that I'm gonna show y'all before I show you how to create a random number first. I'm gonna just create a variable A, and I'll say A is 1.2, right? Remember when we did this round up, round down? We're actually gonna use that when we go to do the random number. So let me save this. I'm opening this up in a browser, copy path. As a quick review, we got A here. The way we round down is by using math.floor, right? And that rounds down to 1. I just wanted to show you this part because we're about to use this to create like a random number. So I'm going to delete this now. I don't think we need that. Just wanted to demonstrate that. The way we create random numbers is by using math.random. This is a function that we use. Remember, math is the object that's on the math is an object inside of the window object. For example, if I type window here, right, and I type dot math, math is here, and math inside of it has a random method. So you see, there's an F right here, and we can call that like that. And this gives us a random number between 0 and 1, not including 1. Now we don't have to do window.math.random. We can just literally just do math.random. Anything on a window, we can just call the actual property or method directly, and it's understood. And you can see every time I run this, I get another random number between 0, and 1, not including 1. So let me write this. So that's already there. Gives a random number between 0 and 1, 0 and up to, but not including 1. That's how that works. Now, how can we use this? Sometimes you want to create an app and you want to select a random number, let's say between 1 and 5, for example. Now we know that this gives us a random number between 0 and up to 1. If I multiply this by 6, what that's going to do is give me a random number between 0 and 6, not including 6, right? So if I wanted to get a number between 1 and 5, what I can do is use math.floor, because I'm going to round down whatever the output of this is. So if I paste that inside of there, first it's going to do this calculation, which is, well, first it's going to do this one. And this is going to give us a number between 0 and 1, but not including 1. And then we're going to multiply it by 6. By doing that, this effectively gives us a number between 0 and 6, not including 6. And when we round down, we're able to get an even number from that, because as you can see, we have decimals here. So if I press enter, we get a whole number. And this whole number is always going to be between 0 and up to 5. I mean, yeah, in 5, up to 6. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the only things we can get from this. So let me paste this over here. Gives us a number between 0 and 5. So that's math.random. Where are we? Random. Okay, Booleans. I think we went over Booleans. We went over if else statements. We went over else if. Actually, let me quickly combine this with an if statement. I'll say if, and I'll put this into a variable. I'll say num, right? So num is going to be between, it's going to be any number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if num is greater than 3, we'll say console log. Actually, let's say if num is greater than 4, we'll log num is greater, I'm just going to say GT for greater than 4. And remember, we did those else ifs. Else if is a way for us to add an extra condition. So else if num is greater than 3, we'll say this. Num is greater than 3. And remember, when we have these if else statements, we can only run one of these. We can't run more than one of these. So if this block runs, it's going to skip over the rest of the blocks. And the same thing for 2, 1, and 0. I'll say if num equals. So I'll say num is greater than 2. If num is greater than 1, we'll log num is greater than 1. And here, I'll say num is equal to, so just et equal to 0. Save this. And to be honest, we don't even need this last condition here, because this is going to be the default either way. So I can just get rid of that and just make an else statement. So if I go back to the browser and then refresh, num greater than 1. And actually, let me do a console log, and I'll combine that with the backticks, so we got more practice with that. Num.
When I woke up and they moved me by the nursery to see him, Mr. Buckley was standing there with tears running down his face. That was the moment that I fell in love.
All right, so refresh. We have 5. Num is greater than 5. Refresh again. We got 2. Num is greater than 1. Num is equal to 0, as you can see. Now, something I want you to notice is we have this here. So clearly, in this case, num was 4, right? So this condition is skipped automatically because 4 is not greater than 4. Just want you to know the difference. If we have greater than, it strictly has to be greater than. But if you want to do greater than or equal to, you will have to do greater than or equal to like this. And I'll actually give y'all a list of all of the different ways we can compare. This is greater than. So we'll say A is greater than B here. Right. Now I actually define A as, let's say 1, and B is 2. Then I'll console log these just so that we can see them. There's a few of these. Greater than, we have A is less than B, A is greater than or equal to B, A is less than or equal to B, A equals B. Actually, let me create some more variables. C, I'll say C is 1, actually C is 10, and then D is 10 as a string because I want to show y'all the difference between these. So what I'll do here is I'll say C double equals D. And then another one we can do is triple equals. I'm about to ask y'all what the difference is between this in a second after I log these to the console. I'm trying to select them all at the same time. Here we go. The way I'm doing this is I'm holding down the Option key. I'm not sure how to do this on Windows. I get to copy all of these. And I get to do a few things like simultaneously. Okay. All right. So greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less or equal to, double equal, triple equal. We have not equal. And I'll do this actually with these. These are very similar. I'll say not equal here. And not equal. So not single equal, not double equal. And I'll log all of these to the console. Let me comment this out because I don't think we need this anymore. Comment that out also. Refresh. And we got a few things. Actually, let me log all of these. A, B, C, and D. I'll do the same thing I just did down there. Copy these like that. Okay. Refresh. Okay. Now we have a few things. So we have A is 1 and B is 2, right? So is 1 greater than 2? Obviously, that's false. Is 1 less than 2? That's true. Is 1 greater than or equal to 2? That's false. Is 1 less than or equal to 2? That's true. Now with these two, remember C is the number 10 and D is the string 10. We can't really tell here, but that's what that is. So with the double equal, we get true, and the triple equal, we get false. Can somebody explain this to me? Like why are we getting true for the number 10 equal the string 10, but false for the number 10 triple equals the string 10?
Double equals will compare just the values, and then the triple equals will compare the values and the type. So the type of the string 10 does not equal the number 10 and the third with the triple equal sign.
Right. exactly. And this is an interview question that y'all gonna see also, or potential interview question. So, and the same thing for these knots. So what this is doing is it's comparing let me do it over here actually. It's comparing 10 does not equal the string 10. And for this one, we got false. And for this one, we got true, I believe. Yeah, we got true. All right. So these knots are a little bit confusing. Now, not basically gives us the opposite. That's kind of how I think about it. So if we say this single equal right here is not single equal is only comparing the the actual value, but this double equal is comparing the type as well. So what this is saying, let's not think about this not right now. This is saying, okay, is 10, the value of 10 equal to the value of 10? Yes, that's true. That's a true. But since we have a not here, we have to switch that to false. Not changes a true value to a false value. Now let's look at this one. This one compares the number and the value. Is the number the same? Yes. Are the values the same? No. Since both of those are not true, that will be false. And because we have the not here, we switch it back to true. So anytime we see these knots, even people that's been doing this for a while mess this up sometimes. But just know that the knot is the opposite of like what you're expecting. That's kind of how I think about it.
Question.
Yeah.
Will the and greater than or equal to, will C and D come out to true?
C and D. Oh, I would
Yes, C greater than or equal to D.
not. So when we compare, I'm not sure what's going to happen actually. So C greater than or equal to D, because these are two different types. Even if we do less than or equal to, we get true. So when we start comparing numbers and strings, I think they're actually comparing where they are like on like a I think there's some list. I forgot what the name of it is, and I think it compares where they are on that list. But yeah, in general though, C and D, they're not even the same type. So we wouldn't even compare things that's not the same type. And to be more honest, like we don't compare anything that's not a number. So this, so I'm not completely sure why we're getting true in both of these cases, but either way, we don't really use it like that.
So you can kind of filter that out by saying if that is not a number, then change it to a number, parse integer or whatever the case is.
Right. We'll just parse int. We don't normally check to see if something is a number or not. Normally they tell us if it's a number. Let me see something. If we do a parse, I'm gonna just do parse float since it's here. Of the number 2, we get 2. But if I do parse float of the string 2, we should still get 2. So I guess whenever we're comparing things that we're not sure are numbers, we can just parse it. And I will always use parse float just in case it's a decimal place. All right, so if else, okay, comparison operators, I just showed y'all those. These are those comparison operators here. They're just ways to compare things. Logical. Comparison operators. Okay, logical operators. Okay, logical, I believe are those. Okay, so logical are like this. So we have a few. So we have 2 of them actually. We have double ampersand. Actually, hold on. Sure, I get these mixed up. Logical operators, comparison operators. Let me see something. I don't want to give you the wrong I should put JavaScript in there. the wrong name for the thing. JavaScript. W3 logic operator. Comparison and logical operators. Okay, yeah, so I showed y'all the comparison ones. So the logical ones are these: double ampersand and the double bar. So this bar can be seen on your keyboard above the return button. So if you press shift and that button above return or enter on, I think on Windows, you should see a bar there. And you press that twice to get both of them. What this one means, and I'm gonna comment these out since it's not. What this one means is and this one means or. So we can say if A, hold on. We can say, let me create a few variables. Let me comment some of this stuff out. Actually, comment that out. Okay. We'll say A equals true, right? Actually, instead of writing true like that, I'm just going to say 1 is greater than 2. This is true. Just to give it to you, just to show you all in a different way. Let's say this one is false. Right? We'll say if A and B console log both A and B are true. Now that is the logic for and. And means that both things on and means that everything on the right side of it and everything on the left side and the right side are both true. So if A is true and B is true, this evaluates to true. If A or B, what this means is either A or B is true. So this one evaluates to true if either A or B is true. And if I go here and refresh this, one, oh, this is false. 3 is greater than 2. All right, so if I refresh this, we get B. Oh, B is false. That's why. Okay. So let me actually just do it from here. We have A there and we got B here, right? If we do A and B, we get false because both A and B are not true. If I do A or B, we get true because we have at least one of these are true. So A is true in this case. You might be thinking like how can I use this? Like why do we have these weird things here? Sometimes you want to make decisions in your code, and let's say you had like a card game or something, and it required them to require them to score a certain amount of points and have no hand. You would say, okay, are the points greater than this amount and player has no hand? Then you want to do something. And that's when something like this can be used, when you have two conditions that have to be true. Now, sometimes, let's say you're making a game where you can win if you score over a certain amount of points or you run out of cards. You say, okay, did you score over a certain amount of points or did you run out of cards? If one of those is true, it runs the code in the code block. When I say code block, I mean like this code block here. So if one of those is true, you won the game. And it doesn't just apply to games. Like this logic applies to a bunch of scenarios. And this is used very often, like these comparison operators. I mean these logical operators. So that is what those are. There are more than these, but the and the double ampersand and the double bar are the only two you use. You rarely see the other ones. And just to quickly show you that the other one you'll see is this, and it's a single bar. And to be completely honest with you, I'm not even sure how to use this completely. I still get confused with it, and it's because I don't practice with it, and I don't really care to learn it, and it's because it's never used. So I try to filter out stuff that I'm never going to use. But this is the other one, just in case you see it. And if you wanted to know what it did, you can just look it up. But you probably won't see it. 9 times out of 10, you won't see it. Let me see what is next. Logical return keyword. Okay. So with functions, remember we learned about functions. So comment that out. I'll just create a quick function. We'll say fn, create a function. Normally when we create functions, we do a bunch of stuff. We do things within a function. And sometimes when we're doing stuff in the function, we want the function to like run some calculation for us. For example, let's say I name this function add, and we have 2 parameters, A and B. If I pass in A and B, what I want this function to do is give me back the result. In order for, so before I show you that, let me just do a console log of A and B, like that. And I actually put this in backticks so we can get practice with that. So that's A, and B is here. And the way I call that function is like this. I'll just say 2 and 3. And if I refresh the page over here, I get A is 2, B is 3, right? Now let's say I wanted to use this function to give me back some result. Let's say I have some variable and I'm setting it equal to this function, with me calling this function, right? Now, if I do this, right, and I refresh on this side and I put sum here, it's going to give me back undefined. And the reason it gives me back undefined is because the function that I set it equal to didn't return a value back to sum. It didn't give it a value. Now, if I put this return keyword is a way for us to give back a value. So I'll give back A plus B, and I'll put that into sum. I refresh this, and then I do sum again. Now we get the number 5 because we return 2 plus 3. We return A plus B, which was 2 and 3, and that's how we got 5. Now we can go further with this, and let's just do like multiply. We'll say A times B, right? Now 2 times 3. Add is not right. It wasn't defined. So we are going to multiply now 2 and 3. I refresh here and just log sum, we get 6 because 2 times 3 is 6. Right. Another thing I want you to notice is first, VS Code is telling us that like you can see that this line is grayed out. And the reason this line is grayed out is because it's not going to run. What's it called? With the return keyword, whenever we hit the return keyword, it automatically exits the function. So if I log something down here, this will not run. If I go here and refresh, we don't even see that log to the console because we automatically exit the function whenever we hit that return keyword. If I put this up here, obviously it's going to run now because now it's before the return keyword. So whenever you're using that return, make sure that everything that you want to run is above the return keyword. Sometimes you might see stuff like this, where you have an if statement You'll say, okay, is 3 greater than 2? If so, we'll return, actually we'll do, if A is greater than B, we'll return A plus B. Just say like random, whatever. So if A is greater than B, we'll return A plus B. Right? We have A greater than B. 4 is greater than 2. So we're going to return this one, and we're not going to log this because we're going to hit this return keyword before we even get down here. So if I refresh this, we can see that nothing logged to the console. And I can even show you with a debugger how this works, because it might be better visually. I'll refresh this, right? It stops here. We have A is 4, B is 3. This logs. So we go inside of this if statement because we know that 4 is greater than 3. And what it's going to do is return A plus B. So that's going to give us back 7. And that's going to, then it's going to skip the rest. So 7 is given to sum. I do sum here, we get back 7. So, but if I put, let's say, 2, actually say 8, right? I'll refresh this. We log that. This one is false, so we skip over that. We log this one, and then we return A times B. It's a sum. And now sum is 32. So you might see stuff like this. So if you see something like this, just know, like, if nothing down here ran, it's because like this one ran, and then we hit that return keyword, and then we exit the function as soon as we hit it. So that's the return keyword. See what's next. Array push, array filter, find, pop, unshift. Let's do a bunch of array stuff. Okay, so let me comment this stuff out. So we had a few data types. We had numbers, we had strings, we had Booleans. Now we're gonna learn about another one, and the one we're gonna learn about is called an array. Arrays, you can look at them as boxes. So like a box that you can put different data types inside of. You can put numbers in there, and obviously you write it with, actually let me write it at its simplest form. This is an array, just 2 square brackets. These square brackets are next to the letter P. So if you press the opening one here and then the closing one at the end, this is an array. Now inside of this array, you can put as many things as you want. You can put any data type you want. Now, every time you put something in here, you separate it with a comma like this. So what I just did is I put 4 numbers in here and I separated with a comma. We can even put strings in here. We can even put other arrays inside of here. So this array, let's say we got 3 things in there. So this array, this outside array has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things inside of it. So this is an array. If I set this equal to, let's say, a variable, I'm just going to save that and then refresh on this side and then log A. We can see that we have 6 things inside of that. That's what this 6 does for us. Now with this array, we're able to do a few things, and let me actually tell you the reason behind having this. So sometimes, like in your apps, you want to keep related data together. Let's say you wanted to keep numbers together, and you just put numbers in here. And to be honest, most of the time you're going to see the same data type inside of the arrays. You're not going to see like different data types in there. You're either going to see all strings, all numbers, and some, or all objects. And the objects can have whatever types of data types. And we're going to get to objects in a second. But you might want to store something like this, or you want to store letters. inside of the array. Let's say I'm gonna name this choices actually, and let's say this was the choices for like tic-tac-toe, and let's say squares for tic-tac-toe. There's there's 9 squares in tic-tac-toe if you look at like the board. So like each of these numbers can represent one of those squares. So these are those top squares, these are the middle squares, and these are like the last squares. So this is it's a simple example of how you would use arrays to group similar information. I'll refresh this. We have choices XO, and we have squares here 1 through 9, right? Now with arrays, we're able to like manipulate them in different ways. So let's say I wanted to add something to this array. Let's say I had another square for some strange reason. I can add to this array. The way I add to this array is by using a method that's on this array. Now, every array has methods, has properties and methods. And with this array, we're able to use the dot to get access to the properties and methods. Just to quickly show you, that first one we saw there was the length, and length gives us back how many things is inside of the array. But if we wanted to add something to the array, we use the push method that's currently inside of the array. Let's say we wanted to push the number 10 into squares, right? So now squares has the number 10 here. Push, what that does is it adds to the end of the array. That's what that does.
Question.
Yeah.
What's the difference between the property and the method?
Property and the method. So properties are like attributes. For example, like someone's age or like someone's favorite color, like just like a value. Now a method is functionality or like an action. For example, like if someone runs or if someone goes to sleep, like those are actions. Those aren't like things you can like label. So push is an action that we use on the array. We're actually adding something to the array. But length is like a property on there. Like it's something that defines the array. It has 9 things inside of it. So you can think of like properties as just values and methods as like actions, things that you can actually do on the object. So an array is an object. That's almost everything in JavaScript are objects, but yeah, that's why we're able to use this dot notation here.
Okay.
That makes sense how I explained it.
Yeah.
Cool. So it has filter, find, pop, and unshift. Let's show you pop really quick. If I do squares dot pop, we can see 10 popped off. So if I log squares again, we can see there's no more 10. Pop just literally pops off the last thing inside of the array. It removes it or deletes it. Now unshift, I showed you that push adds to the end of the array. I believe unshift adds to the beginning. Let me just add a 0. I think that's what it does. Let me see. Yeah, it adds to the beginning of the array. And I'm gonna add something else really quick. Unshift, right? It added to the beginning. You might be thinking like, what's this number here? Why do we keep getting a number back? So what unshift does, and that's literally just me by playing around with it. So I know it adds to the beginning, but it looks like it also returns the length of the array. So it does 2 things. It adds to the beginning and gives you back the new length of the array. That's what that does. Now, by that logic, when we did pop, what that did was it removed the last thing from the array and then gave you back the thing that it removed. And push added something to the array and then gave you back what it added. Now, what it gives you back, generally no one uses what it returns back to you. They literally just want to use it to either add something or remove something or add something to the beginning. Now, if you want to add something like to the middle of the array, it's a little bit more complicated. Let me see if it's even in here. I don't think it is. Generally, you won't be adding to the middle of the array. There's a way to do it, but I honestly don't want to waste time. I'm trying to show y'all how to do that. Let me show y'all filter and find. So filter, what that does, self-explanatory, it filters the array. And arrays have a filter method, and this method takes a function. And the function, let me just give it a function here. This function defines basically how we're going to filter the array. Whatever you return from here, if it's true, then it keeps that thing, it keeps whatever inside of the array. But if it's false, it removes it from the array. So what I'm about to do is I'm gonna use this modulus here, what we learned last time, modulus 2. If modulus 2 equals 0, if this comes out to be true, remember my 2 gives us back either a number 1 or a number 0. If it gives us a number 1, it's an odd number. But if it gives us a number 0, then it's an even number. So essentially what this function does is it takes whatever is passed to it and it checks to see if whatever is passed to it is an even number. So does 0 equal 0? So if 0 equals 0, we get back true. And I'm going to put that function inside of here. So it's going to take square, it's going to take each individual number, and it's going to run this function against it. It's going to say 1 mod 1. That's going to give us back the number 1 because 1 is an odd number. Does the number 1 equal 0? No, it does not. It's false. So it's automatically going to remove it from the array. So let me, it's going to do the same thing with 2. 2 mod 2 is 0. Does 0 equal 0? Yes, it does. And it's going to keep it inside of the array because we got a true value back. And I'll just say filtered here. Save this. And I'm going to go here, refresh. And I'm going to print out filtered. As you can see, whatever was filtered are only even numbers. That's because this condition only return true for even numbers. Now, if I change this to a 1, what that's going to do? That's going to only give us odd numbers back. If I refresh this and then log filtered again, we only get odd numbers back here. And remember that this is an arrow function, which is why we don't need this parentheses here. Normally we see these parentheses with the arrow function, but if there's only one parameter here, we don't need these parentheses. We can take those off. Also with arrow functions, if you're returning something here, you don't have like other logic inside of here. You only do one thing. Only thing you do is return. What you can do is remove this return keyword and remove these curly brackets here, these ones and these ones. So we can remove this whole thing. And this, and so these two lines, let me just name this function too. This and this is the exact same thing. This is one of the things that we can do with arrow functions. We're able to simplify it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take this whole thing and I'm gonna just put that directly inside of here, like that. And this does the exact same thing. This is gonna give us back all odd numbers. So we didn't have to, let me put those next to each other actually so we can see. Filter 2. And let me zoom out a little bit so I can see these together. We can either pass it a function like this, or we can put the function directly inside of it, like that. And these two are the exact same thing, just written different. And the reason we were able to do this is because we only returned one thing. We didn't have anything else inside of the function. So we can remove the return keyword and we can remove these brackets. And let's not forget, the only reason we don't have these parentheses here is because we only have one parameter. When we have one parameter, we don't need those at all. So, and let me actually put that here as well. I'm just gonna say 0. So all of these are the exact same thing. And I'll keep all of these here so y'all can like compare.
And which one is, I guess, best practice out of those?
Honestly, I try to simplify it as much as possible. I'll write something like this. If I was to filter, I'll just straight write it like this. I wouldn't spend time with those. And that's because I'm so used to writing it. And to be honest, you're gonna see it written like this, like the highlighted one. More.
Okay.
We don't like to we're lazy, so we don't like to write unnecessary stuff.
Got it.
Yeah, developers are lazy. So yeah. Let me, what's next? So that was filter. Now find does something similar. Find, I'm gonna do this, and I'll say finding. Find is another method that you can pass a function to. Now, the first thing that satisfies the condition is going to be returned to this. For example, what this says is we only want odd numbers. This only gonna give us back true if the number is odd. So what this find is going to do is it's going to search through here, and the first odd number it comes across, which is 1, it's going to pass it back to this variable, this finding variable. If I save that, if I go here, refresh, just log finding, and we get 1 here because that's the very first thing it found that that this condition gave us back a true value for it. Now, if I put a whole bunch of even numbers in there, right? It's going to keep searching through. It's going to keep iterating through all of these until we hit 3, because 3 is the only thing that's going to make this true. 3 mod 2 is 1, and 1 equals 1. So that's true. I'll refresh this, and then print finding again, we get 3. So both filter and find takes a function. So with filter, we're literally filtering the array, the whole thing. And with find, we're searching through the array for the first thing that meets the condition. This is the condition here, that it has to be odd. So objects, we definitely not going to get through all of this, but it's fine. So these are arrays right here with the brackets. Now, if you want to create an object, it's like this. It's with these curly brackets. It almost look like a code block. Code blocks are literally look very similar with these opening and closing curly brackets. The only difference is that to have an object, if you set a variable to the object, to the opening and closing curly brackets, that's what makes this an object. And objects take any kind of data type, and normally you see it with different data types inside of it. Now, let me break down the structure of it. So the curly brackets have to be set to a variable to make it an object, right? Now, every object has something called a key and a value. It has a key and it has a value. Now, let's say the key was name. Let's say my name. The key is my name. The value to that would be Isaiah. That's how this works. Let's say the key is age. Value for that would be 33 because I just turned 33. Let's say the key is color. the value for that, I would say fave color. And honestly, I don't really have a favorite color, but I'll just say black. Now, what you start to see here is that objects are a way to define pretty much anything. What this defines is Isaiah. That's what this defines. Or I can just put me, that it defines me. And me, I have a bunch of properties. And this is another example of properties. And remember I told you the difference between a property and a method. So these are all properties that I have. Now, if I wanted to create a method, I'll say, I say hi, for example. The key is say hi. Now, the method is a arrow function. Method is an arrow function. I'm just going to console log hi.
Yeah.
Right. So these are my properties, and this is my method, the action or something I'm actually doing. If I save this, right? Let me refresh on this side. I'm gonna type me. What I get is a big object with my properties here and my method right here. If I do me dot my name, we get Isaiah. That's how we get access to these things. If I do me dot age, we get 33. Me dot favorite color, we get black. If I do me dot say hi, we can see that this F right here means it's a function or like a method. I have to call that function. Why is my keyboard? Yes, something's wrong. I'll call that function like this, and it says hi here. Now, what I want you to notice is that it also says undefined. And the reason it says undefined is because it's basically my method doesn't give me back anything. It doesn't return anything. If I was to return, let's say the number 1, for example, and I know this is very random, but I wanted to show you the difference. If I run that again, say hi, we have hi here, and then it returned the number 1. That's why that undefined was there, because we didn't return anything. Right.
So if you return a console log of hi out of the function, it'll get rid of that undefined as well and still like print hi to the console.
Actually, what it's going to do is it's going to return whatever console log returns back to us. And I'm not even sure if that even returns anything. So it's going to return this. And what this is going to do is it's going to fire the method log that's on the console object. And whatever is returned from the log method is going to be returned from here. So I'm not even sure if console log even returns anything, and it doesn't. It has undefined. So yeah, so that's that. Oh, so go ahead.
Well, let's say you create another property like I don't know, say bye, and then essentially you return say bye. When you hit the return and say hi, if you needed to run say bye as well, would that stop you from running that function? Or
Yeah, if you hit the return, yeah, it's going to stop you. But in order to do yeah, and this goes into something that we're not even supposed to learn until one of the last sections. What you're able to do is you're able to use something called if you wanted to run say hi, right? And inside of that, run say bye, like literally right after, you can use something called the this keyword, and this is a reference to whatever object it's inside of. So this is the equivalent of saying me.say bye. So this is going to run. So we'll run say hi. Then in say hi, it'll log this, and then it'll do me.say bye and effectively run this by using the this keyword. But this is not something we need to know right now, but just I know it might be a little bit more than what you was asking, probably. I'm not even sure, but yeah, that's how you would do that. Let me see, I'm gonna refresh this and do me dot say hi. This dot say by is not a function. This dot say by is not a function. Oh, it's probably because it's inside of arrow function. Let me try something really quick. I think that's the difference between these arrow functions also. I'll refresh this. Yes, because it was inside of an arrow function. So, and that's another advanced concept that we're going to learn later on. But yeah, to quickly wrap up though, because I know it's 8:01. We was using, let's say this, right? Me dot age to get age. That's dot notation. Now bracket notation is using brackets and then passing in the string of whatever the dot is. I want y'all to notice the difference here. Now, we're able to access the age property two different kinds of ways. Now, and the reason where sometimes we want to use this way of accessing the age property. And we mostly use this when we want JavaScript to basically, I'm not sure an exact example, but sometimes basically, let me see something. Key, so key was age, right? What we can do is me, console log, me at the key. So this is doing the exact same thing. Me, and then key is a string. So this is going to log my age, 33. So we're able to use, we couldn't do the same thing with me.key, because me.key is literally going inside of here and looking for something called key, like this. But since key is not there, it's gonna log undefined. So if I do me.key, if I refresh, it says undefined because it's not there. But if you did want to use a variable like that, this will be how you would do it, like that. Me square bracket key, and that effectively passes in the string of me. These two lines are the exact same thing. All right, so with that, we're at 8 o'clock. We did have a few more things to go over. Now I'm gonna leave that to y'all to go over. One thing that I wanted to point out was actually no, all of these are good to learn actually. So only thing y'all gotta do, y'all gotta learn these loops. If you hadn't already went through it, these ones are, this is a loop, and how to manipulate the DOM. I'll leave that to y'all. And on Sunday, if y'all do have questions on those, I'll give a quick example of how that works. But I'm just going to assume that y'all know how to do it if no one has questions on Sunday. So what we should be doing, before I let y'all go, we should already be through 1 through 5. Y'all should already be done these two projects here, project 1 and 2. And I want y'all to start on project 3. On Sunday, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna break y'all up into groups, and y'all gonna do these projects by yourselves, like within your groups. So y'all gonna, like, you help each other out to do it. Somebody's gonna share their screen, and then the rest of y'all gonna try to walk them through how to build the projects. And it's better if y'all had already went through it in the course. So I expect everybody to already be through these 2 sections and working on 3 and 4. And if you got past that, honestly, you can just keep going. And you can always ask me questions with like stuff down here. Even though the class is not there, it's fine. You can always ask those questions, because I want everybody to honestly go through the whole thing. And I don't want anybody to feel like the class is holding them up with anything. So let's see if there's any questions in the chat. Live view is good extension. Okay. Yeah, with live view with VS Code, it's sometimes buggy. Like sometimes you'll share a link with somebody with VS Code, and then like for some reason the connection gets interrupted, I definitely thought about using live view with VS Code, but it's not. Sometimes it's just buggy. Sometimes. Let's see.
It was real cool when I was doing the project, like typing it out and seeing it update live without using React. You know what I'm saying? I think that part of live view was cool. So that's what I use it for. Like when I'm building out the app or something, I can actually see things real time updating almost without having to refresh.
Okay, I know. Okay, you meant like the upgrade. So what you're describing is called hot reload. Hot reload. So I thought you meant like sharing your VS Code like
Oh,
with somebody. That's called live view because it's an extension in there. And maybe I don't know what you're referring to is
it's called live server. Yeah, I messed up. Yeah, so it's called live server. But yeah, it just literally opens up the code in the window for you, and then it updates automatically with every save. Like it automatically refresh the page for you.
yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sam showed me that. I want to get him that shout out.
Right. I'll stop recording.